Hello, Gates Chalai Spartans, and welcome to our elementary reopening forum. My name is Tim Young, and I am the principal at Florence Brasser Elementary School. I am joined today by my principal colleagues from Neil Armstrong, Lisa McGarry, from Walt Disney, Elaine D'Amelio, and from Paul Road, Peter Hens. Also with us this morning is Carol Stem, Associate Superintendent for Instruction, Jason DeJong, Pupil Personnel Services Director, and the Director of Physical Education, Health and Athletics, and the district's COVID-19 Coordinator, Dr. Patrick Irving. The format for this morning will be as follows. We will take you through a typical day at our elementary buildings, outlining elementary-specific protocols that apply to all 4 schools. These include things like arrival procedures, walking in the hallways, and classroom time. We'll then each have a moment to share items specific to certain buildings. Once we go through all that information, we will answer any remaining questions live. You can submit questions via the chat function to the right of this live video. Please also be mindful of asking questions that have already been asked. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible within the hour. If there are any questions left unanswered at the end of the hour, we will post those on our elementary website within 3 business days. Though the district hosted this type of forum a few times now, it is our first time hosting this type of event, so please bear with us if we have to troubleshoot anything along the way. And now, without further ado, let's take you through a typical day at one of our Gates Chalai elementary schools.
So, arrival dismiss procedures. There has been many questions about our daily health screenings. The district is piloting an online daily health screening questionnaire with staff this week. We hope to test it before the first day of school. We will be communicating more details about that next week. Each building has designated doors for arrival for buses and parents who will be dropping off their children. Gates Chalai staff will be stationed in the bus loop and near parent drop-off zones in each building to assist students as they enter the building. Each building will share building-specific information during this presentation. Given COVID restrictions, parents who are dropping off children will no longer need to enter the building to sign in their children. Students will enter the designated doors wearing their masks. Students who wish to get breakfast in the morning can stop at the breakfast kiosks to grab their breakfast and head down to their classrooms to begin their day. Everyone will head directly to their classrooms once entering the building. Again, Gates Chalai staff will be in the hallways to assist students as they learn where their classrooms are located.
For walk in the hallways, there will be few instances when students need to walk through the hallways, but when they do, they'll be escorted in a straight line following the stay right rule, and students will, of course, be expected to wear their masks.
So let's take a look inside the classroom. Classrooms are set up to allow for ample space for every child to comply with social distancing and COVID restrictions. Every grade schedules the day for students to receive instruction in English language arts, writing, math, science, and social studies, just like any other school year. Special classes such as art, music, library, and PE will be experiences on a rotation basis. Support services that include AIS, or Academic Intervention Services, occupational and physical therapy, and counseling will also continue to be scheduled according to students' needs. Some of these services will occur naturally right inside classrooms or in designated spaces throughout the building. During classroom time, students will experience a traditional mini lesson and then some activities that are differentiated to meet their needs. Some of these tasks will be supported with our district's technology that's available for every single Gates Chalai student. Teachers will spend time supporting the social, emotional needs for our students through community building activities, community circles, and student goal setting. Mask breaks will occur throughout the building and will vary depending on what grade your child might be in.
Next, we will share about lunch procedures. Students will primarily eat lunch in their classrooms. There will be some variations at buildings as cafeteria space differs from building to building. Due to the COVID restrictions, no lunch visitors will be allowed. The district will revisit this practice though as COVID restrictions relax.
Recess, the most important part of an elementary day. Each class will have recess time every day. To reduce the amount of student contact, only one class will be on the playground at a time. Each school will develop a recess and playground schedule to best meet the needs of our students. Students will be directed to wash their hands before and after playground use. Each class has access to a sink and soap located near or next to their classroom, as well as hand sanitizer. Students will be required to wear their mask while on the playground. Mask breaks will be directed and supervised by their teacher while students are at recess. When the weather permits, or when the weather does not permit, students will still have recess, but that will occur in the classroom.
Special area classes are a favorite for our students. Art, music, and library will take place in the classroom this school year. Physical education will take place outside whenever possible. And when the weather doesn't permit that, we'll be using our gyms.
So we talked about mask breaks before. Mask break procedures we recognize are something new for our students. They will be provided, our students will be provided a mask break roughly every 60 minutes and frequently throughout the day. The process will be that students will remain at their seats. We're thinking of incorporating some quiet, mindful type moments into these times. Great way for students to breathe, to relax, to reflect. While outside in the playgrounds for recess, students will also be expected to wear masks. But again, mask breaks will be in place outdoors before coming back into the building. It'll be a great opportunity for students to get some fresh air, and we're all hoping for a long stretch of warm, dry, beautiful weather this fall.
Lastly, dismissal procedures. Students will be dismissed to buses when buses arrive. If students are car riders, their parents will have a car rider tag that they will present upon pickup. Staff will have each student come out to the correct parent. Each principal will talk about building-specific pickup locations in a moment. More information about car rider tags is coming in the next few days. Now it's time to move on to building-specific items. I'd like to start and touch on a few items specific at Brasser. One of the unique things about Brasser is that we will be utilizing our cafeteria for some students each day. Students will get a classroom break and eat lunch in the cafeteria 1 out of 2 days. This will be a rotating schedule, so all students will have the opportunity. Seats will be placed 6 feet apart in the cafeteria. We will try our best in making this a special opportunity, with possibly music playing or a movie being played. In addition, each classroom will be scheduled recess time outside with their teacher, weather permitting. If you're coming to school between the 9 to 3 p.m. time to pick up or drop off your child, please escort your child to door number 1, enter the small foyer, and a Gates Child Light office staff member will assist you. You will need to show your ID, state the child's name, grade, teacher, and your reason for early pickup or late drop-off. Gates Child Light office staff will gather your child. Due to COVID restrictions, you will need to remain in the foyer. For car rider dismissal at Brasser, parents will pull into the side lot off the Laredo Drive single file. A staff member will radio in for the student to be escorted from the nearby hallway out to your car. Parents will not need to exit the vehicle. It is important to note, this procedure will make it very difficult for you to pick up your child without notifying us ahead of time. We ask for this to be done by noon each day. Any late requests will need to be made in person in our main office. And if you are in line for pickup and you have not contacted us prior, you will be asked to park and to report to the main foyer. Lastly, students will be able to pick up a breakfast as they enter the school each morning at 2 designated kiosks, one for primary, K through 2, and one for intermediate, 3 through 5. Students will be charged for their breakfast from their online account.
So let's talk about some specific information for Walt Disney. Walt Disney is under construction this year. Our A wing is getting a new secure entrance along with new classroom spaces. This part of the project will encompass the 2021 school year. Our new temporary main entrance is located near door number 6. We have some new spaces in the gymnasium, a bathroom, a water filling station. Behind the gym is a new OT PT room, storage space for the PE department, building storage, and a new PE office. In addition to the inside building construction, we also have a new primary and intermediate playground. Arrival time is 8:50 to 9:05. Only buses will be allowed to enter the bus loop that is parallel to Coldwater Road. GC supervisors will be out on the walkways in the bus loop to assist students entering the building. All car riders need to enter the main driveway entrance to Walt Disney campus located on Coldwater Road and just past the bus loop. A car rider lane will be designated as cars approach door number 6. A few cars at a time will dismiss their child so we can ensure safety in our parking lot. Now, we anticipate that car rider lane to be quite busy, where patience will be required to allow cars to dismiss students in small groups and pull safely back out the Walt Disney main driveway. Dismissal for car riders will begin at 3 p.m. Again, Disney car riders will enter the car rider lane and pull up to door number 6. GC supervisors will be out there to greet cars, check IDs, and car rider passes. Students will be called from their classrooms and meet their car rider near door number 6. Again, to ensure safety, only a few cars at a time will pick up their children. This will allow them to safely exit back down our driveway. We anticipate this will take some time, so please be patient. Important to note, if you are picking up your child at the end of the day, please notify our main office by noon. If you're coming to school between 9:05 and 3 p.m. to pick up or drop off your child, you will need to park in Walt Disney parking lot parallel to Holy Ghost Cemetery. Please escort your child to door 6, ring the doorbell, and a GC staff will assist you. You will need show ID, state your child's name, grade, teacher, and the reason for early pickup or late drop-off. GC office staff will gather your child and meet you at door 6, and due to the COVID restrictions, we will need you to remain outside. When dropping off during the school day, you will follow some of the same procedures. Due to COVID restrictions, parents will not be required to sign in their child. The GC staff will take care of that once your child is safely in the building. Our main office number is 247-3151. Please contact our office directly with questions. We are extremely excited to welcome our Disney Dragons back to the 2021 school year.
Well, good morning, Armstrong Stars. Like our sister school, Walt Disney, we are also under construction. There's been some great news with that. We have new playgrounds. We're very excited. We have actually 3 playground areas now. We have a young childhood playground, we have an intermediate child playground, and we have a wonderful sphere that we can climb on and 4 square courts, and I can't wait to get out there with the kids myself. We also have a Wi-Fi equipped outdoor learning classroom, so we're hoping to get the kids outside as much as we can. Now, the new construction project does require some changes in arrival and dismissal. This is important. And the procedures are very similar to what you heard from Mr. Young, Mrs. D'Amelio for car riders. So here we go. Arrival time has not changed. That's between 8:50 and 9 a.m. Only buses will be allowed to enter the bus loop at our Lyle Road entrance. If you're a car rider family, you will be using the Wegman Road entrance to our back parking lot, where we'll have security to help direct you in a loop so that you can drop your child off at the door 16 sidewalk. A staff member will be there. It's important. If you don't see a staff member there, just wait in your car with your child. Don't release your child unless you see a staff member there to ensure that your child enters the building safely. It will be the same at dismissal. Teachers will escort children to their buses at dismissal. And for car riders, you again will be pulling in the Wegman Road entrance and lining up right there at the door 16 sidewalk. You'll need to have your ID and your car rider tag ready. You can begin lining up at around 3:10. We're hoping that we can get this process going efficiently for you. We thank you in advance for your patience. We do hope that our car riders will all be picked up at around 3:25 so that we can begin our dismissal for buses. Now, if you don't have a car rider tag, you will have to call school before noon on the day that you're picking up your child so we can make sure your child is on our car rider list. Teachers will want to know who is going to be picked up that day for car riders and have them ready with their backpacks so that we can get everybody out to the cars 1 or 2 at a time as quickly and safely as we can. As far as meals at Neil Armstrong, we will be eating in the classroom, but children will have the meals delivered to their classrooms. And I will share a note here. Mrs. Phillips, our supervisor for food service, shared with me that no change will be given out to boys and girls when they hand in cash for meals this year. The change will be applied to their My Meals Plus account. So just keep that in mind. Last, I'd like to share that we are going to teach our kids ways to greet each other while still keeping safe and sticking to our social distance rules. We're excited about all the different ways we can teach our kids to do that with each other and with adults. And here's one way you can teach your child how to send a hug. And this is something we've already begun teaching boys and girls, and it goes like this. Arms out, cross, a nice little hug like that. So hugs to everybody out there. Our main office number is 247-3190. Please don't hesitate to call our main office staff, Mrs. Wagner, Mrs. Lynch, my assistant principal, Mrs. Bizon, or myself. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning, Paul Road Panthers. I'd like to touch on a few items specific to Paul Road, and I think the good news is that unlike the Armstrong and Disney schools, construction is done at Paul Road, so there will be very few modifications to our arrival and dismissal processes, that would be construction related. Our families will make use of the new main entrance for both student arrival and dismissal every day. Parents, like the other schools, are going to be asked to remain in their cars with the children until signaled by one of the members of the Paul Road staff who are outside greeting our children each day. The start of the school day will still look very much the same as students head to their classes, with this exception, as students will be having meals in their classrooms. Students participating in the breakfast program will do a grab and go breakfast from one of 2 kiosks located just inside the main doors. At the end of the school day, we follow a similar procedure. It's always been important for us to match students with their parents and legal guardians, so we ask everyone to please be in a habit of remembering a government-issued state ID for us to verify the identity of all folks picking up kids. Again, if you're picking up your child, and this is the same at all of our schools this year because of safety and security, please call the main office by noon that day. Parents visiting our school to pick up their child for an appointment or an unforeseen emergency will still come to our school's main entrance. It's marked as door number 3. Come on inside the foyer, ring the doorbell to gain entrance to the office, and you'll be greeted, and our office staff will take care of whatever you're needing that day. Again, remember your government-issued photo identification so that we can verify your identity. Face masks have to be worn at all times in our school, and kindly follow the signs on the floor as you come into our school, into our main office, and picking up your child to maintain the social distancing. And again, this is for your safety and also the safety of our school staff. I guess it's time for questions. Tim?
Just going to add something, Armstrong families. Door 2 would be the entrance that you would use if you needed to come to the school during the school day. So door 2 off of Lyle Road. Thanks. Okay, questions?
Tim?
So now it's time to begin the live question and answer portion. Give us just a moment to pull up the questions and we'll begin. We will have some special guests chime in when these questions are pertaining to them for their answers.
So it looks like the first couple of questions are for me. So I'm going to start with, how do we sign on the first day for classes? So we will be asking all of our staff to send out either a letter or an email to students and parents in regards to their very first day and how our at-home remote learners can participate on the Monday, September 14th. So look for that information to be coming to you sometime next week. The second question, will the distance learning students be picking up workbooks such as for math? Yes, we will have to make arrangements for that, and we will be working with the remote teachers in each of the individual building to ensure that the materials for the remote learners are delivered or picked up for all of them. The next one, for hybrid students who are remote on the first day of school, when will they pick up their laptops in order to participate on Monday, the 14th? So we have had a computer pickup, device pickup day already, and there is another device pickup day this afternoon. So with that, unless there's something specific that the 4 of you want to add, you should be picking up your device and bringing that to school with you on Monday.
So Carol, I'd
Yep,
like
I
to
see
chime
that.
in. The question is for hybrid students. So hybrid students, those students that are Monday at home, just like Carol said, you will have an email, there'll be work, but it will not be necessarily be on a school-provided laptop. They'll be picking their laptops up on the Tuesday when they come to school.
Thanks, Tim, for that
Sure.
correction. So, and in regards to laptops, we will be asking students to be bringing their laptops with them back and forth unless something specific comes out from your teacher with directions around that. Because we do want them to have them available on the days that they are in school. Looks like the next question is for Patrick.
So the next question is, will every family be notified if a student in the building tests positive for COVID? So as a district, we're obligated to follow Department of Health guidelines. We will be following those guidelines if someone tests positive or if a student is sent home for symptoms. So as those guidelines change, we will be following them as every district will be doing. So appropriate people will be notified.
The next question is around services for OT, PT, and speech. And we'll be working with our pupil services director, Mr. Dijon, in order to schedule student services in a safe, efficient way. That will likely depend on what individual education plans call for and will be communicated to families specifically by the therapist. Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Dujon, to that?
No, I think you've covered that nicely. We will continue to provide services to students who are coming to school and to students who are remote, much in the same way that we did in the spring.
Thank you.
So I guess I'm lucky enough to have the next question, and I'll certainly invite my colleagues to chime in if there's more detail to add. But this question comes in from a parent. For hybrid students, do we label every single supply they bring in this year? For example, markers, or will supplies be still shared? And I think the answer is this is going to be a pretty unique year. And one of what I consider to be the hallmarks and highlights of our schools was community sharing up to this year, right?
Yes.
And so I think that students will have the unfortunate task of keeping materials at their workspace, in their cubbies, and they're not going to be making use of sharing supplies, scissors, tape, Post-its, and things like that, like we've done and we've enjoyed in years past. And again, I think pencil cases have been something that we've asked parents to provide this year, and labeled pencil cases. And I think it's more important than ever to keep those materials together and labeling everything. Labeling a face mask in a black permanent marker, labeling backpacks and hoodies like we ask parents to do every year, but certainly more than ever, as you're thinking about washing masks, your child's mask, making sure that your child's initials or name is on that mask so someone doesn't pick it up and try to use it. And if you're going to send in hand sanitizer, I think you could do the same thing. You could put Mrs. D'Amelio's name right on the back, so I wouldn't pick it up by mistake. How's that?
Thank you, Mr. Hens.
Anything to add, friends?
That's the plan at the elementary buildings, is for children to have their own little box or tub with all of their own supplies in it, because we don't want children to be sharing materials. Sound like what's going on at Forest Price?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Does sound great.
So I have the next question. Do kindergarten students have to wear masks while they're seated at tables and desks? And the answer is yes. All students, all grades, will be required to wear their masks throughout the day. But as we talked, students will have mask breaks throughout the day, once about every 60 minutes, as Mr. Hens reported earlier.
So the next question is regarding laptops and if students need to bring them back and forth to school. We did just address that, and so at this time, you should plan on your child bringing their laptop back and forth to school unless you get specific directions otherwise.
The next question is, will my kindergarten be getting a laptop? So new this year, yes. Each kindergarten will have the opportunity, if they use a family sign-in, they'll be able to gain a laptop also. Mind you, it will take time for us to work with the children on how to use the laptop and how to use it properly, how to turn on a computer. So over time, they'll have the opportunity to be using the laptop. But that is something new this year, and we're excited to be able to provide that to our youngest learners.
Will students be 6+ feet apart during mask breaks? Rooms have all been set up per the recommendations to provide space between student seats, and we're also providing plastic shields for
Barriers.
students.
The barriers, the
divide.
dividers.
Like barriers, dividers. So that will be another provision that we put in place. And rooms will be ventilated. That's a question attached to this one. Mr. English, our director for facility, has shared specific information about this, that our rooms do meet the recommendations set by the Department of Health. And if you go to the FAQ, you'll see more details for that. Anything that you want to add, Dr. Irving?
No,
No?
no, go to the FAQ for more details on ventilation.
So if a student has an appointment and has to come in late, a staff member will come out to get them from drop-off. So I think, typical if a child has a dentist appointment at 8 o'clock and it spills over to the 9:30, 10 o'clock hour, I think what we would do is, as you would normally, call ahead to the office, say you're on your way. And, if the weather's bad especially, come in, drop the child in the foyer, ring the bell. And I think there won't be it won't be necessary, as we said earlier, for you to come in and physically sign the child in. We can communicate through the intercom that each of the 4 buildings have and say, hi, this is McGarry. I'm dropping my son Ryan off today to the dentist. And that's really all it is to it. So again, we want to limit the number of non-students and non-employees coming into the building. So, but each of the buildings do have the intercoms and a little bit of a covered area for that exchange to occur. Yeah.
Yeah, and for Neil Armstrong families, the car rider pickup and drop off at the Wegman Road entrance, that's only for a very short time. If you have to come between those hours, come in the Lyle Road entrance, park in the visitor lot, take care about those construction vehicles, and bring your child up to door number 2 and do the call button, and we'll take care of you.
At Brasser, because of our location, we do have a specific small foyer right at the entrance. So we will be asking parents to come to that foyer, and the sign-in sheet will be located in that foyer. So we are expecting parents to sign in and sign their kids. What's important though, no child should just be dropped off. There needs to be communication between the school and the parent.
And at Disney, as I mentioned earlier, you will need to park your car and come over to door number 6 and ring the doorbell, and our GC staff from Disney will be glad to come and support you. We do have an intercom system like the other schools, and our staff member will be coming to the door to obtain your child and then get them to class and find out your reason for bringing in that child.
Okay, so I think the next question is, when will GAP kids get their bus number, and will siblings be allowed to sit together? So yes, siblings can sit together on the buses, and transportation will be notifying families of their bus number in the same manner that they have done in other years. If the first part of the question is about bus tags, I'm going to ask each of one of the principals to address the bus tags, because the bus tags that our elementary kids started using last year will now be handed out, not on their first day in school, but in regards to the GAP kids. I'm not sure if all of you have the same plan or a different plan around that, or maybe you're still working on that plan.
Unfortunately, Disney does not have that program this year, but I know Armstrong does, so perhaps Mrs. McGarry would like to speak to that.
GAP kids are going to be notified by Mr. Hook at the town of Gates about their placement and about that specific information. And if GAP kids are riding the bus, they will get their tag at school when they attend their classes.
Yeah, this question might be pertaining to Brasser, because we are the only school that transport kids from the Child Recreation to our building, and then also in the afternoon from our building to Paul Road. So just like any other year, bus numbers will be given to parents at a very late time due to the fact that changes are being made every day. But you will be notified prior to the first day what bus numbers that your children will be taking, and we'll be making sure that those kids that are signed up for Child Rec will get on the right bus so they can make it safely to Paul Road.
It looks like I have the next question. Is there a plan for recess in PE once the weather turns? Our gymnasium will be available for physical education, but I do know that our PE teachers are just aching to get outside with the children. But if it isn't nice out, PE will occur in our gymnasium. Recess, as many of the principals did talk about, will still occur on a daily basis, just inside their classroom.
For remote learners, when do we pick up their laptops? We have scheduled 2 different times for next week on Wednesday and Thursday, September 9th and September 10th, from 1 to 3 p.m. each in each elementary building. It will be a drive-through pickup, but it's important that you get on our Gates Child Eye website to sign up the user agreement prior to coming to pick up these laptops?
I would add, Neil Armstrong remote learners. Our pickup will be in our front bus loop. And we're asking students with last names A through L to come between 1 and 2, and students with last name M through Z to come between 2 and 3. We're hoping that'll make the whole thing efficient. Just do the best you can. And we'll see you at the laptop pickup. Bring your ID.
And I think the form that Mr. Young referred to can be found on our gateschild.org/laptop for more details.
So what will Wednesdays look like for hybrid learners? So Wednesdays will be the same for all students across the district. It will be an asynchronous learning day. And what that means is that on Schoology, which is going to be our learning platform as it was in the spring, all teachers will have a Schoology course for your child to sign on to, and there will be work provided for them to be working on independent work on Wednesdays. What we will also be doing on Wednesdays is hosting office hours. So the grade levels at the elementary will have specific office hours. And we're coordinating that across the district because what we heard from you last spring is that it was very hard to have students attend different office hours when different teachers were conflicting times. So we're really working on coordinating that for all learners.
The next question is, what is the pickup procedure if you are picking up kids on foot rather than a car? I would ask any family considering being a walker to call their individual school building to make those arrangements. Each building is unique in how our sidewalks are positioned, how our main entrances are positioned. That's the safest answer that I can give. Does anybody have a better one?
Well, and I think I think one of the things that we ask parents to do if they're arranging for their youngster to walk home, we do have some in our neighborhood, but sidewalks on Paul Road are different than they are on Coldwater or Lyle Avenue. We ask for you to please call ahead, make those arrangements, not only with your child's teacher, but also with the office, the attendance clerks especially. And I do believe we ask for a note that we place in your child's file that you give permission for your son or daughter to walk home until further notice. Some of these times they can be weather dependent, but again, it's about safety, and many of our roads aren't consistent with safe sidewalks. So I think that's a great question.
So the next question is, what will remote learning days look like? And can you please provide specific details about remote learning for hybrid students? Synchronous versus asynchronous, hours per day, and does it vary by grade level? So those are a lot of questions. So let me start by addressing just our remote learners, those students who are not coming to school at all. And those students that are going to be staying home for every day of the week and doing their education remotely. So we have been working on creating class lists for those students. And they're in the process right now of entering names into our system. And those of you that have chosen to do remote learning, you will get a letter from your teacher like everyone else will, so that you'll be notified who your teacher is. The remote learning days, our remote classes will function in the same way that our hybrid students do. So a remote class will have a group 1 and a group 2. And so group 1 students will attend on synchronously, I should say. The teacher will be on the device with them on Mondays and Thursdays. And group 2 teachers will be on the device with them for Tuesdays and Fridays. So those days like the hybrid kids when they're in school, remote kids will receive synchronous learning. So what does that look like? So first of all, let me let you know that more information is coming out about this because I'm going to be sharing a lot of details here and probably I'm not going to cover everything. So we recognize that our students have different developmental needs, different learning needs. And so it will vary by grade level because children learn differently and are developmentally in different places. But you can basically plan on 90 to 120 minutes of synchronous device, being on the device with their teacher in the morning and another 90 to 120 minutes in the afternoon. So those schedules are getting worked out because we're also providing for remote students their special area times. And in order to ensure that they have their special area times, we will need to do some individualizing of schedules for specific teachers and specific classes because we're trying to spread those teachers, those special area teachers will be teaching their hybrid students and their remote students. So teachers, what we are asking all of the elementary teachers to do, along with communicating to you before school starts, so sometime next week, by the end of the week, you'll get some communication from them. We're also asking them to put together a classroom information form. So the classroom information form will have laid out for you all of the information that you would need to know about how to contact them, what's the schedule going to look like, what are the expectations. It's a form that will include information somewhat like what you learn about on open house night when you come in and visit with your teachers. So that information will be coming out to you. On the days that they're not synchronous and on their device with their teacher, they will be asynchronous, meaning that they will access their Schoology account, and in Schoology, there will be independent learning for them. It might include a video, it might include a game, it might include an activity, it might include a book to read, various things that will be related to classroom standards and classroom work that's being done. So I think I answered all the questions in that group. I think, so now we have another, did I answer all of those? There's a whole nother group of questions, so let me read those. Can you please go over what the remote schedule will look like? I think I just did that. And for example, when will we get teacher assignments and schedules for meetings? So again, that we're working on getting that information all into School Tool, into our systems, so that we can get that information out to you. Okay?
Do you want to get that one while you're there?
Sure. I'm not showing online a school supply list for UPK. It's only showing for K-5. So unfortunately, with our UPK classrooms that were originally planned to be within our buildings, we've had to move those classrooms to Imaginations. Imaginations Daycare, which is on Coldwater Road, is our community-based partner for UPK. We have been working with them all of the years that we have hosted UPK. So all of those students will be attending their UPK classes at Imaginations. So I would encourage you to contact Imaginations to ask them about their schedule, their supply list, and what their day will look like. Yes.
We will have a half-day
Yes.
PreK at Neil Armstrong in partnership with BOCES 2. This is Debbie Otis is the teacher for that class, and she will be giving her students her supply list.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Can we get the next question? And I think this question, I had a couple telephone calls yesterday come through the office. So when do we find out our bus times? And it's a logical question. I think Mr. Young alluded to that before. I know even during non-pandemic or non-COVID operating times. The transportation facility in Gates Charlie, which provides transportation for 100% of our kids, purposely wait until the last possible week of August to accommodate all the families that register with us for the first time. And so rather than communicate a pickup time and a drop-off time and then have to change it or amend it, they really do wait for the last possible week. My understanding is that Mr. John Eaton, who's one of our fantastic head bus drivers, also a Paul Road parent, but just shouting that out. John Eaton is planning on sending out all the bus tags, the bus drop-off and pickup times within the next 2 days. So once they're dropped in, they'll hit family mailboxes in no time, probably over the weekend or right after Labor Day.
So I have the next question. Are fully remote students going to have the opportunity to meet their teacher? Our teachers are planning to either send you a letter or a video introduction. So please look for those things either in the mail or from your email.
Will remote learners and parents receive a syllabus or some kind of learning plan so they don't fall behind their class? As Mrs. Stem said, there will be a form given to you in the beginning of the year, but also teachers are expected to give weekly plans to you so you can stay on task.
You know, if I can jump in there too, I think it's important. I know that the school district sent out an electronic phone call about a few weeks ago asking parents just to log into the parent portal and make sure that the contact information is up to date. I think what's really important, especially as I'm thinking about some of the things that Mrs. Stem said about the remote learners, I think making sure not only that the telephone numbers are up to date, but also the email address is correct. Because as principals, as we send out those email updates weekly or bi-weekly, we always get some that kick back that say address rejection or address unknown. So I think parents, if you haven't had the opportunity to go in and check your contact information or update your emergency contacts that you've listed for your kids, this would be a great time to do that. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about GAP, please?
Yeah, very quickly. Drop off and pick up for GAP students at Neil Armstrong. You will drop off your children and pick up your children at door number 2. You'll be parking in the visitor lot. That's off the Lyle Road entrance. We don't mind if you use the bus loop. If it is well before buses arrive, I would say around 8:30, you should be using the visitor lot. And we anticipate having buses in our loop close to 4 o'clock in the afternoons. So please, if you see buses or you're coming anytime around buses, use the visitor lot. Mr. Hook from Gates Town will be getting you more specific information, and don't hesitate to call.
So the next question is, I saw on the news that the USDA is approved to continue the free meals program. What will happen in our district? So that is very recent news, and it is something that we will be communicating more with you about in the coming days. The details are still being worked out in regards to what that means to our district. And so our school nutrition team will get those details to you, and we will be sure to share that as soon as we have them available.
Sure. A question for Paul Road from a Paul Road parent is, what time are you driving your child to school and from? So if you're driving your child to school, our parking lot is laid out in such that there's directional arrows and such. You can pull up by 8:45 in the morning. Gates Charlie School District security will be out there. Our school staff will be out there pulling and letting, escorting kids inside safely. So 8:45 is pretty much the go-to time. Door number 3 is the new main entrance, and it's pretty identifiable. And then in the afternoon side, parents typically come in. They start, the line will begin probably, I would say, around 3:10, 3:15. And we're going to start bringing kids out by 3:20. We hope to finish the process so that we can begin, bus dismissal like our other schools.
The next question is, our kindergarten laptops distribution the 9th and the 10th of September. Those are for only remote students only. All other students, including our K students, will be receiving their device when they first time they visit our schools and come in person.
Next question, I missed the first 17 minutes. When is school resuming and when will I get a packet in the mail because I just registered my kids at Walt Disney School? The district calendar was mailed this week and should be arriving in home soon. Also, This program is being recorded, so it will be available in the next 2 to 3 days at our district website. And our first day of school is September 14th, so that's important to know. Please remember to check our online calendar for the most up-to-date dates and times.
The next question was, will morning drop-off still be at 8:50 a.m. as previously, or because of the longer anticipated drop-off lines, will that be adjusted at all? Drop-off will start at 8:50. Please wait for staff to be out there at the sidewalk. Because we're not checking your IDs at that time, we're not anticipating a longer drop-off time than we had in the past. If we have to adjust that, we'll let you know.
Lisa, can I jump in too? I think it's good to remind, it's a good reminder for us, but as well as the families that, the first few days are kind of unpredictable,
Yeah.
The high school starts their bus runs and the middle school starts their bus runs, and then by the time they get to the elementary school, things sometimes go into a little bit of a delay. So I know parents, if they see the child's to be picked up at 8:26 and it's 8:30 and they're starting to get nervous, I think there's a procedure that just has to, level itself out. And I think we're going to see that at all the elementary schools in terms of the drop-off and the pickup. And if I can just drop down, there's a parent just chimed in for Paul Road. Do we drop our kids off in the bus loop? And for that, I would say no. Paul Road is unique in the sense that there's really just two sides to the building facing Paul Road, and we designate and we ask parents not to use the bus loop at all, but rather to use the main parking lot, which is a sign. You can see the new main entrance. It's to the west side of the school, but we really want to keep the bus loop traditionally just for buses in that sense, to keep those kids safest when they're getting off and on the buses. So yeah, sorry to skip ahead, Elaine. I think you've got one.
I think Patrick, if you want.
Sure. So the next question is, are students required to wear face masks while running in the gymnasium? Parent expresses concerns around asthma. Physical education, just like every other course, we are required to have our face coverings on. So as expressed earlier, we are working to maximize our time outside. Our social distancing guidelines say that we have to be 12 feet apart, which is different than the classroom. We will be maximizing mask breaks for our students, especially in physical education and especially when we're inside. But I'd also like to note that just like any other school year, we will be getting outside even as weather turns and gets colder. Part of our physical education curriculum includes activities like snowshoeing, like cross-country skiing, and simply just being outside with coats, with hats, with gloves. So that will be part of our offerings as we enter colder weather.
When will we receive class assignments at Paul Road and Neil Armstrong? All of the buildings are going to be emailing class assignments before Friday this week.
Correct.
So you should, if you have not received your class assignment yet, look for them in your email. At Armstrong, we use Space Log Bulletin. Kindergarten did get theirs last night. And Mrs. Bizan and I are going to be working on getting out the rest of them in the next day or two, but by Friday.
For me, for a Paul Road parent, will there be a drop-off of school supplies to classrooms prior to school like we have in the past? And unfortunately, we can't support that this year because we are trying to limit the access of non-employees and non-students into our schools. So what you can, there's two options. You can call the main office during the couple days ahead, and if you're in the neighborhood, you want to drop off your child's supplies in a bag, I can have Mr. DeBreu and I can have someone from the office come out and grab those. But bring them in a bag labeled with everything, with your child's name on everything this year. But again, for kindergarten, we're certainly going to allow for that during our kindergarten orientation program, which is scheduled for next week. So there will be an opportunity for kindergarten families to drop off supplies. But again, trying to follow and stay respectful of some of the COVID guidelines. We're really had to cut back, unfortunately, about the number of families that can come inside the school this year to drop off supplies. So hopefully when the guidelines lax up a little bit, and next year, when this is all just a memory, fingers crossed.
The next question, when can I drop off meds that my child takes during the day with the nurse? Our staff will be working next week And you can drop off meds next week during our regular school hours. I do think on Tuesday morning, the entire staff will be meeting together. So you might want to call ahead for Tuesday to make sure that when you come to the main entrance and bring the call, that someone will answer it.
The next question is a very good one. Will we be providing laptop sleeves, or are we required to get a special backpack? All you need to do, on all our class lists, it says, please purchase a backpack that can support a computer transport. So there's no special sleeve, there's no special backpack or name brand that you need to buy. Just buy the one that is large enough to carry a backpack roughly around this size.
So the next question asks, will free meals be offered to all students through December 31st? So as Ms. Stem just said, this is very new information. We're working with New York State on how best to offer this. But I do want to note that please follow our FAQs because that will be updated and we will be communicating with families once we have a better understanding of free meals program. And just to go down the list a little bit, the next question says, what will the screening process before school look like for students riding the bus? Will answering the app questions be sufficient? So first, I just want to make sure, I've heard app mentioned a lot. I've gotten questions about that. There's no app for anyone to download. Staff and students and families do not have to download an app. Families and staff will get an email first thing in the morning at 1 a.m. to answer questions specific for your child or your children. It will come in the form of a link. If it is not answered before school, a follow-up email will be in your inbox. But it's important to know that you don't have to go in, enter your child's name. It will be specific to your child, and that will be sufficient. If a student does show symptoms, our nursing staff will be there to help assess and help assist at that time.
Okay, so has curriculum or standards changed for this year? Will content not covered last spring be covered this year? So as we look at our education this year, our standards for the grade level that your child is in needs to be covered for the year, needs to be taught. Those standards and all of the standards at the grade level, at the elementary grade level, kind of spiral themselves and they grow upon each other. So the skills and the content within standards kind of repeat themselves until they get to a point where they've been mastered. So the work that we've done this summer around our curriculum is identifying those most important standards, especially those standards that are expected to be mastered at a certain grade level. And we will monitor and adjust, working with our students like we do on any given year, to find out where are they at, what's their readiness for this skill and this standard, how do we need to adjust our instruction, what type of differentiation do we need to include for the group of students in front of us. So we will be working through that as our year goes forward.
Okay, the last question we're going to be answering at this time, when will we know our child's teacher is? We are hoping that by Friday, you'll be aware of who your teacher is. If you are not aware, you should be able to contact the schools on Tuesday to let us know that you were not aware of that. But our hopes are every parent will know by this Friday. We want to thank everyone who turned in live this morning and everyone who submitted questions. We will continue to communicate with families in the coming days ahead of the first day of school on Monday, September 14th. Please check your email regularly for updates from the district and each of our buildings. We thank you all for your continued patience and support. All remaining questions will be posted on our website in the next few days. Thank you.